I was in my apartment. It was morning. I usually look at the news in the morning, so I looked at the news. And I saw that something was happening in the south. And like most Israeli, I didn't really realize even the beginning of the scope of what was happening. I thought about it as another one of those small-scale terror attacks that is happening and will go away soon.
Good.
But then it kept coming. Still, it took a number of hours before we really realized that we are looking at something that is unheard of.
And when you realized the scope of it, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, a mixture of sorrow, anger, and disbelief.
What was so unbelievable?
Well, I think it was so contrary to any expectations that we had on what Hamas can do and about our ability, the Israelis' ability to defend ourselves, that actually it was shattered, right? All of a sudden you see huge number of terrorists invading Israel, and the army was not prepared for it. So we didn't expect the huge number and the scale that they used in their terror attack, and we didn't expect our army not to be ready for it. So the combination of those two things led to this disbelief. I think to some extent we are still digesting. 5 months into the event, we are still digesting what happened. And because we are all busy in the war in Gaza and in the semi-war in the north, we don't have yet time to really analyze the situation properly.
Hebrew University is home of 25,000 students, and about a fifth of those students are Arabic. How have the attacks of October 7th affected the student body and the staff at Hebrew University?
It's complicated because, first of all, when the attack took place, the university was on vacation. There was a semester break or even a year break. So we didn't have many students on our campuses. We didn't have an issue of potential conflict. And we were initially busy in our own things. Many of our students were recruited to the reserve units. At the peak, about 2 weeks into the event, we had 7,000 of our students that were in the reserve units. So that was our first focus, to think about them and about what they did. Of course, at the same time, we started thinking about what is going to happen when we come back to the campus. We have, to some extent, something that is a disadvantage that we took it into an advantage, because we had a very big event in 2021, riots in the mixed cities in Israel, in mixed cities in which both Arabs and Jewish people live. But that surprised that at that time. And so at the Hebrew University, we prepared many programs for diversity, because we have the advantage that we don't have in the mixed city. We don't have poverty. We have people that come for a common goal. So we could create programs for integration and for peaceful interactions. So we prepared them already at 2021. And when this event took place, all those programs were ready and we implemented them. When we have large classes, 200, 250 students in that class, we often divide the students during the class into very small groups of 6 or 7 or 8 people in each group. And we make sure that in each of those groups, it's a mixed culture students, often Jewish and Arabs, in each group, so that they interact together for a common goal. And that works. That works. Because otherwise, if we didn't do that, then you would have a natural tendency for Arabs to be with Arabs and for Jewish people to be with Jewish people. And we want to encourage interaction at a context that is positive, that has a common goal, a common academic goal, that they can collaborate. And so those programs are aimed exactly at these junctions and make sure that we mix the people in such a way let positive interactions come out of it.
Have such interactions taken place since October 7th? And if so, tell us a little bit how they have changed.
Well, first of all, because of the war and because of the fact that we had so many students that were in the reserve units, we delayed the beginning of the academic year for 2.5 months. We were supposed to open on October 15, and we actually opened on January 1st, 2.5 months later, and we have a short semester. The 2 semesters that we have this year are relatively short and condensed. So we really work very hard on simply trying to make this year work. That's what we do. And within that framework, we also implemented, as I said, our own programs for diversity, and they seem to work. Before October 7, these were pilot kind of programs, and we increased that into a full-scale operation. We also had workshops for our faculty members, just in case there are issues in classes, so that they know how to react to it. No issues in classes, but we wanted to make sure, should such issues arise, how they handle it. We did lots of things. So far, I'm happy to say we are successful, and I really say so far because we are always cautious about the future.
So recently you had an incident with Professor Shalhoub at the Hebrew University, who has openly denied that such atrocities of October 7 have ever taken place.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is not the first time that we hear Professor Shalhoub say horrible and inaccurate things. She did it once before, about 3 months ago, and we really took an unusual action by telling her that not only does she say inaccurate things and really damaging things, she's also operating against our principles, and we, in fact, even suggested to her that she looks for another position elsewhere. We didn't fire her, we just recommended her to take another position. This is highly unusual, and we did it because of her horrible things. Now, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, she had a podcast in which she said even worse things, including strict denial of the atrocities on October 7. Imagine somebody that is specialized in social work and denies well-documented horrible cases of rape, killing of infants, and so on and so forth. This is, of course, something that we cannot overlook. So what we did, we issued another very strong letter, but in addition to that, because of the fact that we are concerned what will happen in the classes that she is teaching, we suspended her teaching as well. This is a highly unusual step. We don't usually do that. We value very much freedom of speech. We value the ability of our faculty members to say what they think, regardless of what they say. But she crossed any limit that we can think of that, and that's why we reacted like that. And I still hope that she will find another academic home and will leave us at peace.
Shortly after October 7th, you contacted by letter the presidents of Harvard and Stanford, and you received very disappointing answers for them.
Well, I want to clarify what happened, because it's really a shocking event. This was October 7, when all those atrocities took place: rape, killing, beheading of infants and women. At that very same day, 34 radical student organizations in Harvard issued a statement blaming Israel for the events of October 7. As it was fresh happening, they blamed Israel. So you can say, okay, those are radical student organizations, but then the Harvard management of the time did not condemn it. They just issued kind of a very mild, indistinct statement about the need for peace and non-violence, or something like that, ignoring the atrocities. So we took an unusual step at the Hebrew University and sent a very strong letter to the president of Harvard. Actually, we did it also to the president of Stanford because he did a similar thing, in which he essentially claimed that they morally failed us by not doing what they should do. That letter got a lot of publicity, and they responded by then condemning what happened on October 7th, and so on and so forth. It was better, not ideal, but still better. And ever since then, the situation got two ways. One way, we saw waves of radical people showing anti-Israeli moves and sometimes really anti-Semitic kind of statements against Israel. But on the other hand, we saw a lot of solidarity from many other sections at those universities. And we, for example, now have almost on a weekly basis solidarity missions coming from all the top universities in the US to show their solidarity with us. So it's a two-way kind of thing. On the one hand, we did see those worrisome, anti-Semitic, anti-Israeli, and anti-democracy, really, in many ways, protests. On the other hand, we see also the solidarity that is shown by many top faculty members and managements of top universities.
And who initiated, to your knowledge, who initiated these solidarity missions?
It was a bottom-up kind of thing. People, faculty members, started organizing it on their own. It wasn't done by the management of the university. It was done by the faculty members themselves. Many prominent faculty members did that. I should say that we also got many letters from presidents of universities as well, showing support and solidarity. Right now I am in Switzerland. Yesterday I met with the management of the University of Zurich. They showed again solidarity towards us, willingness to cooperate with the Hebrew University, and generally speaking, were very friendly. They hosted us in a very nice way. Today, I'm meeting the president of ETH, whom I know, by the way, and we met many times before. I'm going to meet him again, and again, they show us signs of solidarity, friendship, support, which we truly appreciate. I would say in general even that we see both in Switzerland and in Germany many signs of support from the top-level academicians all over, and from the faculty members as well. So it's very heartwarming to see that.
The Hebrew University has a special connection with Switzerland, and that connection is through the eminent Albert Einstein, who is one of the founders of Hebrew University.
You know, there are many top-level universities in the world. There is just one university that Albert Einstein was its founder, and that's the Hebrew University. We are very happy of that legacy, and I want to stress that Albert Einstein was very happy with the Hebrew University. He called the Hebrew University our university and published many documents about the Hebrew University. When he died, he left all of his intellectual belongings to the Hebrew University, including some of them the most precious documents there are. For example, we have the original copy of this general relativity paper with Einstein's handwriting in our possession. We have his Nobel medal. We have 80,000 such documents. And because Albert Einstein is an inspiration to the world, to the young people and to the old people, is really a true inspiration to the science and culture of the world, we are now establishing an Einstein house in which we are going to exhibit all of those documents and items that belonged to Einstein for the public to see. Now, it so happens that, of course, Einstein lived in Switzerland and, in fact, published the first series of most important papers while being in Switzerland, and he did his PhD in the University of Zurich. So we naturally connect with the Swiss universities here on the basis of Einstein as well.
What conclusions do you draw personally from these events of October 7th?
We are 5 months into this event, and I still think it's too early to draw all the conclusions because we saw so many far-reaching implications of what happened. We see actually almost a war of liberal democracy against fundamentalists. We see alignment in the world of those that support liberal democracy versus those that support fundamentalism. That's one thing. We see in the Middle East different alignments now that are happening because of that. And of course, in Israel, we are still digesting the shock from the horrors of what happened and trying to distinguish between the terrorists and the rest of the people which we need to interact with. It's not a simple act to do. It's not really simple because these terrorists came from them. So we are still working on it. It's still something that will be with us for a long, long time. Being an optimist, and I'm an optimist, I actually think out of this really terrible series of events, we can build upon it and hopefully build for a better future with more peaceful interactions with our neighbors, especially our neighbors that want to have peaceful interactions with us. As you know, not all of them and many of them don't want to. And hopefully to also stabilize the entire region as well. We shall see.
What conclusions do you think the state of Israel should draw from all this, looking into the future?
Well, I have to say I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to say any political statements that will put me on one side or the other of the political spectrum. But I do think that there are many lessons that Israel should learn from this event. And perhaps the most primary lesson is that we have to be prepared for everything. We have to know how to defend ourselves. We have to do it in the right way. And at the same time, we have to treat people that are not against us fairly and justly. We need both to defend ourselves against our enemies and to welcome those that are not our enemies. We have both in the region.
Would you say it is naive or it is realistic in terms of your programs to foster mutual understanding and respect?
I don't think it's naive or realistic. It's inevitable. People have to live together. We see over history many, many times where people fought very bitterly against each other and eventually came to terms and now live peacefully. We have a vision. We have a dream. We want to live peacefully. We have to do it. Is it realistic? Time will tell. I think it is, but I'm an optimist. If not, we will know how to defend ourselves. It's definitely worth pursuing such a vision.